Days of national mourning after a deadly school shooting in Graz that left 10 dead and several others injured. Chancellor Christian Stocker called it a very dark day and an act of unimaginable violence. Austrian Interior Minister Karner confirmed the shooting suspect was a 22-year-old former student, and he was found dead, reportedly with a pistol and a shotgun. Mayor L.K. Carr described the attack as a terrible tragedy. The school has been evacuated and police have secured the area. Austria's foreign minister called the incident unbearable, while the EU officials stressed that children must feel safe in schools. Meanwhile, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has also offered his condolences and called the incident horrific. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni also expressed sorrow over the tragedy, extending heartfelt condolences to victims, families and solidarity with the injured and their loved ones on behalf of herself and her government. With one of Europe's most armed civilian populations, Austria has seen shootings before, including the 2020 Vienna terror attack. An investigation is underway, but for now, police believe the attacker acted alone. We're now joined by Ross Feingold, who is a political analyst, and he's located in Taipei, Taiwan. Ross, thank you very much for joining us. This is quite a rare event that we're seeing today, a school shooting in Europe. We've seen this before through the likes of Dunblane in Scotland, in the United Kingdom. Looking at the Western world as well, you have obviously the Christchurch shooting that happened in New Zealand. We saw legislation brought in directly after this event. Do you think that there's any indication that Austria might do the same thing after this happens?
Certainly after this incident, Austria as well as the EU will be revisiting their gun control laws. But as you mentioned, there's a lot of guns in circulation in Austria. Some estimates of unregistered guns are as high as a million guns in circulation. There are also a lot of legal guns in circulation as well, for example, for hunting. Passing more laws are not going to change the number of illegal guns that are in circulation, but it will make the politicians feel good. The interesting thing to watch, though, is with the rise of right-wing political parties in many parts of Europe, and certainly with the Trump administration in the United States, which is pro-gun and really opposes gun control, what's going to be the pushback to stricter gun laws? I think, unlike maybe if this incident had occurred 5, 10, 15 years ago, there's probably going to be a lot of people who push back on gun control and say that, no, this is a right for people to own guns.
And how does such attacks obviously affect public debate about gun control and safety in schools? We reiterate that this isn't something that happens in Europe as frequently as it does in the United States, but do you think that this will spark some sort of conversation in the region?
I'm sure it will, and you get into questions about what kind of procedures or security measures do schools need to have. We often think of schools as being a kind of open campus environment. There aren't guards on all the doors or locks on all the doors of a school typically, but that's where we've moved in the United States, especially with secondary schools in the United States, and there typically are now controls on the doors, and there's even detectors that students have to pass through when they enter the building, metal detectors. So it's possible that Europe, however reluctant it might have to move to a more secure school environment, typically what we've seen in the United States. But there'll be, like I said, there will be a lot of pushback against that in Europe.
Yes, Ross, and you've also linked this to the rise of the far right in Europe, not directly, I mean, but there obviously is. Do you think there is a danger of these incidents becoming politicized rather than focusing on the victims and the solutions of these tragedies?
Certainly, this will become politicized. If far-right parties feel that gun ownership is an inherent right, then they're going to use all their efforts that they can to inflame the conversation and to oppose additional gun control measures. And then it'll be up to the non-far right, the left of center and the right of center parties to form coalitions around this issue in different countries in Europe. But frankly, I'm not optimistic about additional gun control across the European Union. I think with the rise of right-wing parties, we're going to see a lot of pushback.
Ross Feingold, thank you very much as always for joining us on the programme. It's a pleasure. Well, that is all that we have time for, and we will continue to bring you more news updates from around the world. Thank you.